Let's talk about Bible fonts. What got me thinking about this subject is a post that I saw on Facebook yesterday that was pretty humorous. I'll show it to you here. It says fonts matter, and then you have two examples here. The first one says you'll always be mine, and the second one says you'll always be mine, but they obviously have very different connotations to them. And mostly the connotations are brought out from the font style there. The first one looks very loving, very heartfelt, and there's a heart at the end. And then the next one kind of has a reminiscence of blood and gore. And so you'll always be mine means something very different. Now that's obviously just trying to be humorous, but it does make a point that it's not just the words on the page, it's actually the font style that also conveys meaning.
That Barbie has some nice handwriting.
Buzz? Barbie didn't write this.
How you write something, the font that's used, definitely has an effect on how you perceive what you're reading. And that's really what we're talking about here. When it comes to Bible fonts, people do have very strong opinions, and I actually did a video with Tim Wildsmith called Comfort Print Controversy, where we talked about comfort print that is being put out by Zondervan and Nelson Bibles. And for some people, comfort print is what I say is like a trigger word to them. For other people, they really love it. And I have a feeling that a lot of that controversy comes down to the fact that they call it comfort print, and they're actually focusing on the font that they're using. And that's good in a way because it draws people's attention to the font design and the fact that they're putting time and care into how they design that font. On the other hand, some people react to it because they don't really like certain fonts and they don't like the comfort print. So yeah, people are going to have opinions about this sort of thing just like they always do about any subject. And really what I want to do in this video is just ask you off the bat, what do you think about Bible fonts? What are your favorite ones? I think what we have to realize is that this is very much a matter of personal taste and a perception that is based on our own experience and just the way that we happen to look at things personally. So a good example of this for me is a font that I really like. It's a font that you actually see in a Bible like this from Church Bible Publishers. It is the Cambridge turquoise layout. And personally, I really like this design, this font. It's a pretty large size font. It's very bold. But one of the things that's different with this font compared to Bibles you're seeing more recently is it's not a digital font. It's back when printing was done with more of the metal type, I guess. I don't really know how they did all of this, but it's just not the modern kind of printing. And so as you can see there, it has a certain look to it. And I like that. It's classic to me. It's reminiscent of the past. It's also actually quite easy to read in my opinion. Now, do I want all Bibles to look exactly like that? Absolutely not. I like different font designs. And I'm really appreciative, I'm going to say it right here, of what 2K Denmark has been doing in the Bible publishing world. I know a lot has been talked about that. A lot of credit is being given to them, and rightfully so. And I noticed that Mark Ward just did an interview with Klaus Krogh from 2K Denmark. So that might be a video you would want to check out to hear someone who does Bible font design and is really a master at it. So let me hear what fonts you like. I'd really like to hear, are there some comfort print fonts that you like? Are there other fonts that you like, maybe that are newer, some that are older? I'm sure you all have a lot of opinions on this. Another thing that I thought would be fun in relation to this subject is just to look at some different fonts here of the same verse, John 3:16, and just to see how these different fonts look and kind of how we perceive them based on the font. The first one here is, I think this is actually the font that they use at BibleGateway.com. And as you can see here, it's a pretty plain font. This, I believe, would be a font that would be called a sans serif. There are no serifs, those little lines at the end of the letters. In case you don't know what I'm talking about, This Wikipedia article talks about it here, what a serif is. And a sans serif font has no lines at the end of the letters. You can see here with the serif font, you've got these little lines, and the red serifs here show you where the serifs are. So to me, this first font looks like a sans serif font. I think a lot of Bibles, though, when you look at Bible print, will have serifs. I think it's actually easier to read, even at a smaller print size. Now, this next font is not really fitting for Bible font, and that's one reason I wanted to show it, that there are certain fonts that really don't fit the Bible. Actually, this is a very well-known font. It's actually infamous. It's Comic Sans. And Comic Sans has received a lot of hate. However, there are people who defend Comic Sans.
Comic Sans is the best font in the world if you want your designs to look like they're done by little girls.
And I don't actually know how much hate it's gotten more recently. Maybe that's subsided some. But it was used a lot by different people. And the problem is a lot of people misuse this font. So I'm going to say right here, Comic Sans should not be used for Bible font. And you can see how it looks here. It's actually meant to be like comic book style font. Something that you would see in a bubble quoting someone who's talking in a comic book, something like that. So that's what Comic Sans is for, but obviously not very useful for Bible font. All right, and then you've got what is called papyrus font. And I'm just showing this because it's unique, and it just shows you how it really changes the way that you perceive something just by the look of the font here. I wouldn't want this in a Bible, but it's actually a pretty cool looking font. I think in certain contexts this could work. And it is called papyrus, which kind of ties in with the Bible a little bit, the biblical world. All right, the next font here is Book Antiqua. So I guess this is more of an old style kind of a font. And I think it looks pretty good here. I'd like to hear what you think about each of these fonts. You can tell me if any of these stand out to you as good or bad. So that's Book Antiqua. The next one is a very well-known font that has been used a lot. It is the Times New Roman font. And actually, I think this is a font that is supposed to be very readable at different sizes and use good economy of space. It actually, to me, is a pretty pleasant font. I don't know if you agree, but I don't mind Times New Roman. Perhaps it's been overused, but I think it actually looks pretty nice here. The next one is Tissot Office Serif Pro. I'm not really sure what those letters stand for, so that's my best guess at what this is called. You can see this is a little bit more unique of a design, I would say. I'm not sure how pleasant it is, but it kind of looks more modern to me, and I could see it being pretty readable if it were in a Bible. I don't know if this really fits the look of Bible font, though. I guess I'd just have to see it in that kind of a format inside of a Bible with smaller print in the double column format, something like that, just to see what I thought. But that's another example of, this actually has serifs, so it probably would be pretty readable, I guess. And then the next one is called Wildbaum text, something like that. And to me, this looks kind of old school. Maybe it's a little bit elaborate. I don't know. The G's to me look pretty elaborate, but overall it looks pretty nice. And then we're going to look at one more here, and this is the Gill Sans Nova. So this would be another example of a sans serif font. No serifs at the end of the letters there. And actually, to me, it looks pretty pleasant. So I'd like to hear what you think about all of these. I just wanted to show you examples of them. And again, what you can see here is they all really affect the way that you're reading the same text. And the first ones here really are contrasting. You can see some of them really don't work very well. But as we go along here, you can actually see some fonts that fit pretty well with biblical text. One of the things that you will see, I think, like with the comfort print fonts, is that it's really designed in a way, let me show you here. It's designed in a way where the lowercase letters are actually pretty close to the size of the uppercase letters, and the resolution on this image isn't great, so it's a little blurrier than what you're going to actually read in a Bible. It's going to be a lot more crisp when you see it printed on the page. But you can see here that the letters actually that are lowercase are written almost to a font size of the uppercase letters, and then also the bottom of the letters don't extend down very far. So what that allows for is a larger font that takes up less space on each line, so that you can fit these lines on the page very well and still have a pretty good size font. So this is an example of a font from 2K Denmark. This is the comfort print for the New King James Version. So a lot goes into Bible font design, and again, people do have strong opinions about things like this, but I think it's important to realize that it is not easy to come up with good font design, and that a lot of thought and care goes into it. That being said, different fonts affect us in different ways, and so it is actually a very important thing on one level. It needs to be something that you can read and is easy on the eyes when you're reading through the Bible. On the other hand, it needs to be fitting of what you're reading. It needs to be something that looks good in presenting the biblical text. So I just wanted to do a little video talking about this. If you want more analysis, reviews, and fun on different subjects, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell notification. But thank you for taking some time to listen to some of my thoughts on this from a Frisch perspective.